Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Spanish Sling, a podcast where we try to bridge the gap between the Spanish and the Singaporean companies and encourage economic relations between them. Today we wanted to talk about one of the leading products in Spain, wine. We wanted to understand the Singaporean wine market and also the perception of Spanish wines from the Singaporean consumer. This is why we bring today in the Spanish Sling Andrés Soler. Welcome, Andrés.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. Yes.
Thank you.
So to give you a brief description of your curriculum, Andrés is a Spanish winemaker, enologist, agronomic engineer, and is the regional sales manager at Raventós Codorniú.
Correct.
So you're a wine almost expert, we can say.
We could say so, yeah, we could say so.
Yeah, so let's jump into understanding the Singaporean wine market. How common is wine as a drink in Singapore? So how big is the market?
Okay, so to understand the Singaporean wine market, we need to understand Singapore as a country. Singapore is a small country compared to Spain in this case. It's less than 6 million people. So actually the wine market is gonna be small in total volume, in total numbers, compared to Spain. But then again, the market in Singapore is more dominated by other drinks such as beer or spirits, or in this case, scotch. So the Singaporean wine market is small, but it's a market that is growing. To give you some numbers in comparison with Spain, the consumption of wine in Singapore is about 2 liters of wine per year per person, and in Spain is 10 times bigger. So yeah, in total numbers it's smaller, but in percentage it's 10 times smaller than in Spain, which makes sense. In Singapore there's no production of wine, and Spain is one of the top 3 producers of wine in the world. So at the end, it makes sense that Singaporeans are not as used as to wine than in Spain, for example.
So, for example, beer is predominant, but wine is a growing market.
It is. It has been growing for the last 10 years, and the expectations is that it's going to keep growing for as time passes. The main reason is that Singaporeans, especially the young population, is very keen in trying new ways of drinking in general, no? So the wine is a category which is growing because people generally, they were told that wine is from certain regions, and people is more open to discovery, no? People is willing to get to know more stuff, not only beer or the beer that you can have in the bar or in the hawker center, the scotch that you can have in the clubs. People is more willing to take more products, and wine is definitely the growing category. It's growing in all the categories actually, especially in the red wine, which is the predominant category, but also in sparkling, with champagne, with cava from Spain. So yeah, it's definitely growing.
Oh, that's really interesting. So in Spain we can see that it's a really popular drink, and there's some celebrations because in Spain we celebrate a lot. We celebrate Christmas, we celebrate Easter. So in Singapore, when is wine consumption as it's at its peak? So wine is most popular.
Yeah, that is
wine.
Quite similar to in Spain. At the end, wine is a product is more for enjoying, for sharing with your friends, with your family, to celebrating. So at the end, indeed, it is similar in Spain with Christmas. Here is very important the Lunar New Year or the Chinese New Year. So at the end, I would say that Christmas and Chinese New Year are the peak consumption periods for Singapore. But not only in those celebrations, also on the normal basis, especially during the weekends, people is very keen when they get out of the office. They are not working. They're very keen on going to bars, drinking at home. For example, with all the pandemic, the last 2 years that in Singapore situation was quite strict. So people decided to get to know more products while they were at home. So at the end, that really helped with gap products, let's say, like wine, that people will get more into new products. And one of those new products was wine. So it went from more celebrations, I would say, that into more not an everyday product, but product that people is more willing to try at home by themselves and discover new regions.
So we are seeing some similarities between the Spanish way of living and the Singaporean one. So in which way the both countries' way of living and social gathering align?
I think it's all about family and friends. I think in that way, Singapore and Spain, we are two very similar countries. We are very familiar. People drink on gatherings, and people here, it's not like they want to drink by themselves. So when they do celebrations, they really like sharing with the family. So every time a Singaporean is celebrating a birthday or an achievement in the life, they surely are celebrating with wine more and more.
And finally, to conclude, we have talked about the similarities. So what are the main differences between both consumers, the Singaporean ones and the Spanish ones?
Well, in terms of the location, it's not that similar, but I would say that Singaporean from the beginning is not used to wine. In Spain, we are a wine country, so since I wouldn't say since we are born, but I mean since we are kids, we are used to seeing our family or our relatives drinking wine. So we are familiar with the concept of wine. Here, wine is not a concept that you don't discover until you are on a legal age to drink, 18 years here, like in Spain. So I would say that it's a more recent product to their lives, more new than in Spain, which is something that is actually in our culture. So I would say is the biggest difference.
Oh, so thank you so much, Andrés, because I think now we understand better the Singaporean wine market, and we see that clearly Singaporean and Spanish were much alike than we may think.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Andrés.